China makes up about 80% of the world's rare earth trade, not because rare earth is concentrated in China, but because China is pretty much the only country in the business due to the lax environmental law and its unsuccessful enforcement. Do this in your country, and you can dominate the rare earth industry too. The fact is, excavating huge chunks of earth and using chemicals to wash out the minuscule amount of useful elements remains extremely polluting. I visited a small rare earth plant in the province of Hunan, and I promise you that the air, soil, and water in that plant and the surrounding village will disgust you. The impoverished villagers, who have grown accustomed to the monthly dividends handed out by the processing plant to pay for their daily expenses, are no less addicted than a bunch of junkies who will protect their stash of drug at all costs. I assure you that the voices pushing for abandoning or at least rationing the rare earth trade in China are much stronger than the ones questioning China's monopoly worldwide. The environmental problems don't just stop in the villages. The main polluters are the wastewater that escape into the many rivers that are used to irrigate rice fields, the most important food source in the Chinese south. Some major waterways in Hunan have been detected to contain heavy metals like cadmium, 70 times over the recommended threshold. So much that people were advised to rotate to rice from other provinces or countries to avoid heavy metal poisoning from consuming too much of the same contaminants from local rice. For now, the problem is not widely known or not talked about on purpose, as people still consider economic growth the main goal. I think there may come a moment of reckoning, not unlike the poisonous milk formula incident, that due to domestic food being seen as unsafe, and Chinese people, who care so much about food, will decide enough is enough, and the rare earth industry will take a big hit. Actually, the awareness of the problem already gathered enough momentum 10 years ago, and the Chinese government decided to take action to regulate the rare earth industry. But the campaign was set back by international resistance after US and Europe pulled a huge "how dare you" and led a dispute in the WTO against China in 2012, suing China for withholding rare earth production, and China lost the case. Since then, China was forced back to producing rare earths and has remained silent about the pollution problem. So in a way, we're pretty much all in this addiction together, not unlike those villagers. Next time when you admire the newest iPhone or else, do take a moment to remember more than just the suicidal workers in Chinese factories. As the Chinese economy grows, and people get richer and start to ask more questions, the rare earth industry will unavoidably be restarted in other countries as China closes down some of its own, just like how the Chinese ban on trash import kickstarted a number of recycling plants in the US and EU. Do keep an eye on those rare earth mines though. Also, I'd recommend foreign agriculture and food industry to jump onto the Chinese train. It's not in everyone's lifetime that there's a constantly growing market of 1.4 billion people who are consuming somewhat contaminated local food and will evermore be looking for imported alternatives.